What's up guys, it's Lorenzo from Quality Mobile Video. Today we got a real simple install of just a basic radio with a backup camera. We'll be installing this in a 2007 Toyota Corolla. All we need for the installation is just a simple dash kit, a wiring harness, our radio, and our backup camera. We'll show you how to wire it from the back to the front, both your reverse light, your video cable, and then we'll wire up the radio. When installing an aftermarket stereo, you'll have to find both the specific Metra dash kit designed to allow the changes to your vehicle's dash and the wiring harness used to connect to your stereo to the factory wiring. Visit metraonline.com. Almost all makes, models, and years of vehicles made in the last 3 decades have dash kits designed by Metra. A 2007 Toyota Corolla requires the 95-8204 double DIN dash kit and the 70-1761 wiring harness. One of the harnesses contains the power and front speaker connections, and the second harness contains the rear speaker connections. Most of the time, all the connections are on one harness. This is determined by the factory wiring in the dash. After finding out what you need, head to qualitymobilevideo.com to purchase your Metra dash kit and wiring harness from us. We carry all Metra parts delivered straight to your door. Once you have the correct harness, connecting your stereo to the aftermarket wiring is very simple. The new stereo's harness will connect to the Metra harness, and the Metra harness connects to the factory wiring harnesses in the dash. Some vehicles require amplifier bypasses and interfaces, but those are not needed here. The radio in this installation was previously purchased by the customer and is a used Sony XAV-V631BT. We'll also be installing a simple surface mount camera above the license plate. So our first step is to disconnect the negative lead of the battery. Pop off the dash trims. We have to disconnect an airbag light. Now you never want to disconnect these when the ground terminal of the battery is still connected. So since we've already disconnected the ground, we'll start disconnecting all of our connectors. Our next step to pull this radio is to remove the 4 10mm bolts underneath the radio. So that's the back of our radio. And here's our 2 connectors with tabs on the bottom. And we already have a regular antenna, so no antenna adapter is required. So the first step in our backup camera installation is to run the wires from the back. Now what we will need is we'll need our reverse trigger, so a wire or positive lead coming from the reverse light, and our video cable. So we'll get those run from the back to the front, and then we'll tie up the front and tie up the back and show you how to test the reverse signal. Most backup cameras will come with a single RCA harness. This particular RCA cable comes with 2 leads that are hanging out. Basically what this is a wire that's run the full length of the RCA. Now you'll tie this to the reverse lead, and then this will provide that signal at the front monitor. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna tape up another wire with it. We wanna do that anyway to make the wiring look like it's a factory cable. And just in the event that this doesn't work, or for some other reason we need another conductor, we'll have one.
Four hours later.
So in our case for this camera, our reverse light is actually in the tailgate, and we'll be mounting the camera right above the license plate. So we'll actually just run the red wire all along with the RCA all the way up. Our camera also comes with a lead of its own. So this will plug into the camera, gives you your RCA and your power and ground. So we will tape this up as well. We'll run our RCA up with the factory wiring. We'll make our connection here, and we'll run our lead from our reverse light down through the red wire up to the front. To begin running our cable, we'll start at the radio and work our way back to the trunk. So in this vehicle, we got a little lucky. We were just able to take off the trim panels and tuck behind one of the trims along with the factory wiring. And there was already a hole with the cables that do the trunk release. So we just came up with those. And so now we'll just pull through our RCA. And we have everything we need all the way from the front of the car. Now let's just make sure that our harnesses connect, and they do. So now we'll wire up our radio. This radio was purchased used and was brought to us for the installation. So you can see the harness has already been cut, but luckily it's in pretty decent shape, so it should be relatively easy to match it up with our aftermarket Metro harness that'll plug directly into the vehicle. Since we're running a backup camera, what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a power wire off the accessory. The reason for that is, in our case, we want the camera always powered. That way, in the event that he wants to see what's behind him, he can simply press a button, or when the vehicle is placed in reverse, the camera will automatically come on based on the trigger that's actually coming from the back to the front. But this way, the camera always has power when the key is turned. As with most aftermarket harnesses, our red is accessory, our yellow is constant, our black is ground, our orange and white is illumination, our blue is power antenna or antenna amplifier, our white and white black are our front left speaker wire, positive and negative. This is our right front, positive and negative. For the rear, we have a separate harness. Our violet is our right rear, negative, positive, and green is our left rear, positive and negative. And now what we're going to do is we're going to match those up with the harness from the Sony. We have downloadable visual guides for car stereo wiring. Link in the bio. On this Sony radio, our green wire is our parking brake, and what we'll do is we'll just ground it. Use our heat shrink to cover our connections. And now we're capping off our unused wires. So the last step before we tape up our harness is we'll put a connector on the reverse wire, and we'll put a connector on our power wire going to our camera. So the next thing up is to mount the radio and the radio brackets. This particular Metro dash kit includes a set of brackets. Some dash kits don't, but some do. So in this case, now we'll set this up so that the radio sits at the trim level, double check the trim, and then finish it up. So we'll line up power tabs, these three, that go into the stock location. What we'll do is we'll put 2 screws in and just do a test fit. To mount our camera, we need to remove the bolts that hold the little lip on, and then we'll take that out, mount our camera to the lip, run our wire in, get our reverse signal from the reverse light, and then test everything prior to buttoning it up. So the only part that's a little bit more difficult to take out is that white little piece right there. That actually holds the center in. There's 2 tabs on each side. You just use a small screwdriver to push them in, and then it'll pop. So there's a tab here and a tab there. So now we'll mount the camera simply by drilling 2 small holes. Then we'll put a hole in the actual trunk lid using a grommet and some sealant, and then we'll lastly wire it up. So we'll install our camera here, drill a tiny little hole through the metal on the back side right here, and use a little bit of sealant. So all we did is create a little notch for the cable so that the cable will go behind. We'll use this grommet, drill a hole, then insert the wire.
"32 hours later."
One thing that we have to do is, because the trunk has wiring run through it, but typically they're terrible grounds, and we'll show you in just a second just how bad this one is. We're actually going to run a ground lead from the chassis of the vehicle to the camera through the harness. So you can see we're just testing ground points using impedance. Now it's not terrible, it likely would work just fine, but we'll run one just in case. We'll see whether or not we need the leads later.
6 months later. 1 eternity later.
Now we have our power coming from the front to the camera. We have our ground coming from our ground point right there. And then we'll use this lead to send the reverse signal to the front. So there's our connections, and this will be our reverse light connection. What we kind of already know is the likelihood is that red black is positive and white black is negative. So let me turn the key, put it in reverse. You can see we have one light on. Now in order to test, put our voltmeter, probe in 1, and in our case, red black is positive. We reconnected the airbag status light prior to reconnecting the battery and testing. Constant, turn off the key. Still have constant, turn on the key. Accessory, turn off the key, no accessory. Now, last but not least, we'll check our reverse. And we have reverse. And we have video. Hopefully you found this video instructive for your next system build. Visit qualitymobilevideo.com to get all of your car audio and video gear with us today. Be sure to like the video if you found it helpful, join the conversation below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks for watching.